Welcome to the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast, where we talk with entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders at B2B services, tech, and SaaS companies to learn the systems and processes they've used to create success for their business. We'll also learn from marketing and sales experts to provide insights to help you grow your business. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and the podcast is brought to you by Modern Revenue Strategies and their 10x ROI B2B growth guarantee. Schedule a free diagnostic call to learn the fastest path to double your B2B revenues in just 90 days. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and today I'm very excited to welcome my guest, Alexis Sikorsky. Now I'm going to read Alexis's bio to make sure I get this right. He's done a lot of great stuff. He's a strategic advisor to founders who are serious about scaling fast and exiting strong. With a 9-figure private equity exit under his belt, Alexis isn't speaking from theory. He's lived the entrepreneurial highs and lows across decades of company building, boardroom negotiation, and international leadership. His flagship book, Cashing Out, lays out the APEX methodology, a 4-part framework: assess, plan, execute, and exit, that demystifies the journey to private equity for founders who are feeling stuck or overwhelmed by growth and decision fatigue. Alexis founded, scaled, and sold New Access, a Switzerland-based software company, ultimately closing a $100 million plus exit and transitioning into a new chapter as a special advisor to ambitious CEOs. Today, through Night Scale Partners, he works with growth stage businesses, typically doing 5 million plus in annual revenue, who want to engineer their next chapter or private equity exit. So Alexis, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Yeah, so you're obviously very impressive background. Really looking forward to this conversation, but also seems like maybe there are some twists and turns in there. Why don't you give our audience a little bit of background on, what brought you to this point in your career?
Okay, I'll give you the quick version, Mark, and if it gets boring, you interrupt me, and if it's too short, you can ask question, right?
Sure.
I always had an unconventional life. I was an entrepreneur my whole life. I started my first company when I was 15. We don't talk about that because it was not a big success.
Okay.
I started like 4 or 5 different companies, including the first internet service provider in West Africa, in Senegal,
Oh,
when I
wow.
was maybe 22, 23.
Wow.
And when I came back to Geneva at 30 years old, I started with a very close friend of mine, a company called New Access. Started as so it was year 2000. If you remember, you're probably too young to remember year 2000,
Oh,
but
no, I was in the thick of things in the year 2000, so
so year 2000 is the year when basically internet goes from a presentation device to an application device. To keep
yeah.
it simple, it's the beginning of e-commerce. It's the beginning of data mining and management through internet. So we started this company just because my partner was an incredibly skilled developer and I was an incredibly mediocre developer. So after like maybe couple of months, like all my developers came to my office and say, well, we like you very, very much, but we suggest you focus on sales because every time you code something cost us more to debug what you did. So that was my first public humiliation by my own team. So we started this company 2000 to 2003. You remember also 2000, really the market was just waiting for another internet development company. But
Sure.
as we were very small and we were focused in Geneva, we had very good clients. We worked for the America's Cup, which is very wealthy people racing boats. At the
Yeah.
time, it was in Spain, in Valencia. We did all the press accreditation. We were working a lot with British and American Tobacco for data mining and complicated stuff. We worked for the WHO to do an inventory of all the medical device they had on the field. So it was actually interesting. It grew very slowly from a two people company to maybe 10, 11 people company in 2003, doing good, honestly, profitable. And at that point, we had a couple of people in my team that came from a company in Geneva that went bankrupt. So the company was called Logical Access, and it was electronic document management system for private banks.
Okay.
I did what I always do, like, cool, that sounds like a great idea. I know nothing about private banking. I know nothing about electronic document management. Let's do that. And through a long and funny story, we end up with the source code that we bought from the government, from the bankrupt company, and contract with 45 private bank. And the reason we got that is because we committed to hire everyone, to
Oh,
not fire anybody, to hire. And so we end up like go from 8 to 25 at the time,
okay.
from maybe couple million revenue to like 7, 8, something like that.
Okay. It's a
Super
big jump.
profitable. Mm. Big
That's a
jump.
big
Yeah,
jump.
yeah. There'll be bigger jumps later, but that's when my love for M&A started, and you'll see that through my career. I love M&A. Um, so 2003, basically, suddenly I have 45 clients that do a job I know nothing about, or in a market I know nothing about, and just bought a software I didn't really understand. So 2, 3 years, my job was to go see the client and say, please don't leave. I know the company's been bankrupt, and it works fantastically well. One of the reasons it works fantastically well is because I'm personable and people tend to trust me. But joke aside, the main reason, it's a super sticky software. Nobody wants to replace its EDMS. And also we're dealing with what the Swiss people call private banking, which is very different that people in the rest of the world call private banking. So it's extremely security and privacy oriented. So we had a level of security of privacy that at the point had very little competition. So we did that 2000 to 2003. Then 2003, I was starting to get bored
Okay.
because honestly, the product was getting pretty commoditized. There's not much more you can do to an electronic document management system at the end of the day. So I sat my top like 10 customers and say, okay, guys, what can I build for you? What is the new thing that I build that if I build it, you're going to buy it? Um, by the way, that's where my love to talking to your clients started. And that's something I talk a lot. I don't understand why entrepreneurs don't talk to their client, but like literally talk to your client. Don't do
Right.
like
Not a
questions
survey,
and
an
like
actual conversation.
actual conversation. You have no idea what people will tell you if you buy them a beer. It's
Yeah.
that simple. People love to talk, and especially the one that are not really happy with you. Like that's
Right.
the one you need to see. I went to play golf with all my clients who play golf and breakfast. Anyway, sat with them and I was thinking, okay, I'll come with 10 different ideas. And they actually all came with the exact same idea. They
Oh,
say so 2005, 6 in the Swiss banking, that's when something delightful that been feeding my family appeared. It's called compliance. It's the end of the era when you come to a bank with a suitcase full of banknotes and a passport and you can open a bank account.
uh-huh.
So now you have like know your customer, politically
Yeah.
exposed person, all that stuff, which the banks were completely unequipped to do in 2000. Like every time there is a new regulation, the banks are completely unequipped because their ability to anticipate is zero. So they basically all told me the same thing. You need a global front end where we see all the information of the client, customer relationship management, document, portfolio management, financial information, all of that. So I said, yeah, piece of cake. We'll build that. Um, so that's 2005, 6.
Okay.
And a year later, came to see my client and said, we're ready. Obviously, we're far from being ready. but I'm used to a 12-month sales cycle.
Sure.
So we're thinking, okay, I'll start selling like when you go to see a building and there is one apartment ready and you visit that
That's
and
right.
okay. So I think it's gonna take 12 months. The problem is in the first month, 6 clients bought it.
Oh, wow.
So now I have to deliver 6 clients in one hand while I finish the product in another hand. It was a little bit of a shit show, but it was fun. And that's software. Like it's software, it's always like that one way or another. So that brings us to 2007. And honestly, I'm the king of the world. Like the company is doing like 12 million, super profitable. I'm spending right and left. I hiring right and left. And literally like, I think I'm so smart. Like I thought like I got that sorted. Like I'm so smart. We went from 0 to 12 million. We're gonna go to 50 million. We're gonna sell for 100 million. We're the king of the world. And then 2008, global financial crisis. 100% of my clients are banks, right?
Yeah.
So basically on a given Thursday, I lost 75% of my revenue.
Wow.
So I kept the maintenance part because that was contractual. But my guys, I really love my client and they love me. I say, sorry, for the next few years, we're not buying anything from you. And it was the old model. It was before the SaaS models, and it's basically license maintenance. So you need to sell new license to get your revenue. So 2008 to 2015, the grinding years, literally having to fire 60% of the company, mortgaging my house, like 5, 6 years without a night's sleep. I didn't feel that smart at that point anymore.
Yeah, I
Like
bet.
maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was. Where is my fucking war chest? Why do I have zero in my bank account? Why didn't I anticipate that as something that could happen?
Yeah.
Um, Miserable, miserable years. Like um, anybody who tells you that firing people is not the worst thing they had to do in their lives are either lying or they're assholes. It's like absolutely terrible. Every month we're like, do we continue? Is it good
Yeah.
money chasing bad money? Anyway, that get us to 2014, 2015. And that's the point with some creative accounting, you could say we went back to break even.
Okay.
We were actually break even on a month-to-month basis for the first time. So getting to break even. And then I get a phone call from a private equity.
Okay.
When you're an entrepreneur, you get that phone call every week. You never answer. And this one, for some reason, they were French, so they knew they were culturally close. They were people who started their private equity after selling their software company. So
Okay.
they knew software. So I said, okay, let's see the people. So they came to see me to Geneva, and I've decided to be completely honest and transparent with them. I said, guys, I'm exhausted. I would love to sell the company. You probably even do a very, very good deal, except it's not the right time because at the moment my company is worth zero. It's not even profitable. So I said, but I'll make you a deal. You come back in 2 years. I'm not going to go to a competitive process. I'm not going to go like just because you call me right now, when you come back in 2 years, as long as you make me a semi decent offer, I'll sell to you. And they say, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. They said, we're going to do something a little bit different. You're going to go home, you're going to prepare a business plan or where your business is going to be in 2 years, and we come back next week. Okay, grab my
Okay.
brother who was working with me at the time, and we made a business plan that was, how put it nicely, extremely optimistic,
Okay.
right? And by the way, you're allowed. When you talk to a private equity or when you talk to any potential buyer or to anybody for that matter, you never lie a dollar about the past because they will find it. The future, it's on them if they believe you or not. So you
Okay.
are allowed to dream as long as you can a bit justify your dream.
Sure.
So they come. I think we put like 3 mil in EBITDA, where we've been losing money for the past 6 years. So extremely optimistic.
Sure.
And so they got a quick look and said, okay, so this is our offer. We're going to pay you now 11 times your EBITDA in 2 years. And we're going to pay you 85% cash and 15% earnout. And that's when my love for private equity started. Um,
I bet.
on, honestly, I was at some point, I thought it was a friend that was doing a practical joke on me or something like that. Anyway, we did the deal, and I thought, like, these guys are complete idiots. Hint, they are not. None of them are. That's something you can get out of your brain. Private equity are definitely not idiots. So the earnout was on 2 years, and after 2 years, I ended up making more on the earnout that I made with the cash.
Yeah.
At the time, I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to take 85%. It's good enough. The 15%, I end up
Sure.
making more. And the reason, and that's something I talk a lot with my clients, is they know stuff you don't.
Yeah.
And the main thing they know that you don't is they know the value they bring. And that it's not in your business plan. And they know it's not. So I became like the guy who actually bought my company became a very close friend. So we had many, many super fun conversation after that because he would say, fuck, I should have capped the earnout. And he, would you have signed if I had capped the earnout? I say, you kidding? I didn't even take that into consideration. Of course I would. And he said, ah. And I said, by the way, you cannot blame me if I play better at a game. You set the rules. So we'll have, he was actually super happy, obviously, because, and yeah, so they helped us so much. So that brings us to 2017. And so at that point, the company is around 15 million revenue,
Hmm.
25% EBITDA. And that's when we bought a company that was doing 25 million, 30 million, a back office this time. And at that point, the company is doing 50 million, give or take, 10, 12 million EBITDA. And 2000. So what happened when we bought this company?
Hmm.
I actually noticed that the CEO of this company was so much better than I was. So
Okay.
first we put him head of sales, and then I have conversation with him. He's like, it was an American company, so he used to work international company. He speaks German, which in Switzerland is an asset, which I don't. He's 10 years older than me, has way more experience. So I go to see private equity, say, hey, this guy has to be CEO. Like it makes no sense. The guy is much better than I am. So I asked them to chairman me. Best year of my life, by the way. Chairman, looking for a job. Chairman, keep paying me the same insane salary, but instead of working 16 hours a day, now I'm working half a day per month. So it's
That's pretty
much, much,
good.
much better job. And then 2019, I had the heart of my midlife crisis, new country, new wife, new kids. And I tell them, listen, will you buy my shares back? And they say, yeah. And they gave me a very, very honest and decent offer in the 9 digit. And they end up selling the company 2 years later, 60% more than what they bought. So basically, they did around 10 times on this company. I did very well, and every single one of my staff and shareholders and the people who are with me from the beginning did very, very well because that was very important for me. So that's the story of New Access. Sorry if it was too long.
No, that's a very interesting sort of turn of events. And so now you're taking that expertise that you built through all of those different twists and turns, and working with business owners to help them sort of experience some of that same success, right?
So what happened is after 3 years of literally doing nothing, I was starting to get a little bit bored. So I did an executive MBA at Oxford
Okay.
just to keep my brain working pretty much. And met lots of entrepreneurs there and starting to have a chat with them. And I was like, fuck, they're making the exact same mistake I made. Like maybe I can help them not make mistake. And I have a motto, something that used to say is the sum total of my mistakes cost me 5 years and 50 million.
Okay.
If I restarted New Access now, knowing what I know now, I would sell it 5 years earlier and 50 million more. So I say like, I can save these people 5 years and 50 million. So
Sure.
I started working with a few. And then I say, you know what? Maybe I can help more people. And that's when I decided to write the book. And I wrote the book. And yeah, that's how I started Night Scale.
So I know that some of the work that you do with companies that you're consulting with Nightscale and some of the things you talk about in the book is that, many companies as they grow, and you've experienced this yourself from your story, they hit these plateaus. Especially for kind of bootstrapped companies, founder-led companies, where they're sort of like this plateau that they don't know how to break through. And I know that you've developed some kind of specific approaches to helping companies break through those plateaus. What are some of those, and where do you commonly see some of those plateaus that companies see, and what are some of those break points?
Well, that's my specialty. That's why I decided to focus. The reason I decided to focus on there because I think that's exactly to that exact inflection point where I can bring the most value.
Yeah.
Before that, honestly, like bring a company from 1 million to 2 million, it's like it's so easy. They don't need me. And like, yeah, you have a decent product, you have clients, it's gonna grow. Like the question is how fast you're gonna do it, but I don't bring tons of value. Also, a lot of companies in these moments are looking for to finance and get outside money, which I despise. So I will never advise them to do that unless it's a very specific case. Um, and after that, like companies that do 100 million revenue don't need me because I'm not a specialized guy. Like I'm not a CFO, I'm not a CEO, I'm not a CTO. I'll be totally incompetent in all these jobs. So that's the moment where I think I bring the most value, and that's this plateau is the conjunction of three, four elements that usually happen at the same time.
Okay.
One
What are
is
those?
well, we're talking about companies that are founder-led, right? I'm not
Yeah.
talking about startups. That's not my universe. That's I know nothing. I don't even understand this ecosystem. So I'm talking. I call them the grinders because that's where I was. That's where like lots of companies are that at the point that they haven't decided yet if they want to be a lifestyle business or if they want to grow the company. Although when you reach this like 5, 10 million inflection point, you should have thought about that. Some of
Sure.
them already do. But the things that's a few things happen. First of all, they're tired. Like it took them 5 years, 10 years to get there. We're not talking company who get to 10 million in a year. This company usually don't need me. They know very well what they're doing. And it's as I love to say, they are flying fish. They just not don't constitute the majority of the species. So most of the companies who get to that point have been like they've been grinding. It's been hard. They're tired. And I recognize what it is to be tired as a founder. It's a hard job. It's a demanding job. You make less money than your cleaning lady by the hour. You're exhausted. You have no vacation. So they're getting tired. Second thing that happened is they spend way too much time in the company, not enough time on the company.
Yeah.
And I have a way like that's one of my big motto that I repeat like 10 times to my clients is to not confuse what's urgent with what's important.
Yeah.
And they do that a lot at that point. And rightly so. Like before that point, they didn't have the money or the headspace or the knowledge to do differently. But that's at that point, it's starting to not work anymore because there's too many fires to extinguish. And at some point, you need a strategy. And that's the point where you need a strategy. You need to know where you're going now. Like you've been reacting for 5, 10 years. You brought your company to be profitable. It's nice, it pays your vacation, but now you need a plan. And that's when you need to, I call it fire yourself from the company as the
Okay.
founder. And I have actually a methodology for that. You identify all the tasks you do, and then you decide which are the one you're uniquely qualified to do. And the bigger the company, the smaller this number becomes, up to the point where you are CEO of a publicly listed company, and basically your only job is investment management, investors
Right.
management. But at that point, you will have sales, you will have vision, you will have a bit of supervision, and that should be it. If it's more than that, then as I love to say, you don't have a company, you have a job.
Yeah.
It's different. So that's the second point. Third point is now you need C-level people.
Okay.
Your cousin that's been a fantastic accountant
Uh-huh.
is really, really good. He's just not a CFO. It's a different job.
Yeah.
Your IT guy is not a CTO. That's a different job, a different
Yeah.
level of expertise. Your marketing gal who does all your social media and things, she's not a head of sales or a marketing manager, etc., etc., etc. You don't have a COO because, and that's 10 million. You start talking processes. You start talking governance, HR, like your HR sucks at that point
That's
because you
right.
hired the people you know, you hired people who know. And it's not only, sometimes it's not even the quality of the people. You can have very, very good people, but then very often a lack of adequation between the role and the person. And that's usually an easy fix. But then what are your HR procedure? How is your recruitment? In my staff, I have a girl who does only recruitment. That's what she does. She goes into company and they change their recruitment process. So yeah, you need these C-level people. You cannot afford these C-level people. You are 5 million company. You're lucky if you do a million EBITDA, and a CFO is half your EBITDA.
Right.
So that's where you are, and that's why it's difficult to break the ceiling. You have tons of opportunity out there. You know, you see, like, oh, I'm selling in one country. Why don't I sell in 10 countries? I'm selling one type of product. Why don't I develop another type of product? Oh, I have five companies that would work very, very well with me if I acquired them. Why don't I? And all that stuff, it's like, it's so many input and you don't have time or knowledge to create a strategy. So that's the exact point I like to start working with companies, if that makes sense.
It does. And so for folks that are listening and thinking, well, what is the difference between, the person that's been doing your books and managing your finances versus a real CFO? What is the difference? And I can sort of speak to it from sort of the marketing and sales perspective, but I'd love to sort of get your insight and is so that they can really understand what is that gap that they need to overcome.
Well, same difference between a painter and an architect, right? The CFO will not touch your accounting. He will not like the main thing you need at that point, and you will be amazed when you see how little company have that, is a proper reporting tool on your numbers.
That's
I
right.
literally know many companies of that size who get their number once or twice a year.
Right.
And I keep telling them, yeah, it's perfect. It's like flying a plane without a GPS, and your GPS tells you, oh, you overshot your airport by 1,000 kilometers. You need your number every month, and they need to be good, and it's difficult.
That's
It's
right.
actually surprisingly is one of the very few things I did well with New Access. And P guy told me that's one of the reasons we bought you because we trusted your numbers because your numbers were good, and we trusted that you knew your numbers. And most like you took to founders, they don't know their numbers. They literally don't know their numbers. So that's what the CFO will do. He will make sure that you know your numbers, right?
Yeah.
That's not an accountant job. That's a CFO's job.
That's
And
right.
then like CFO will actually pay himself very, very, very quickly because he will find hidden value left, right, and center. He will find like hidden value, unnecessary spending, untapped source of revenues in your existing clients. That's a CFO, right?
Yeah. Well, and we say the same thing oftentimes as it relates to marketing and sales, is that the difference between, sort of the doer versus the kind of strategic leader is the doer can tell you how you did, um, maybe not as quickly as you'd like and as accurately as you'd like, but at least they can do that versus a strategic leader can tell you how you're gonna do. And they can actually have accurate forecasts that you can then start to build a business around. Because if you can accurately forecast, well, how many, new deals are we going to get from a particular marketing initiative? Then you can hire against those new deals so that you're ready for them when they come in, instead of the chaos that comes from, well, we didn't know if it would work or not, so we didn't hire anyone, and then it worked, and now we're scrambling trying to deliver against what we sold.
Yeah, 100%. And that's true. Like, same with the like lots of right now, I sell a lot of CTO times because
Yeah,
with the new way of doing business, which is like top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, sales, etc., that requires pretty serious software and infrastructure to do that well, and most people don't. So, like now, and we developed IP as well. Now I know how to install a new CRM in 4 months. I know which one to install because we've been through that many times. And so
yeah,
yeah, then that's all that is super important.
yeah. So one of the other things that I know that companies, when they're trying to break through, some of these plateaus, so you talked about, they're being tired and, not having the sort of senior leadership that they need to break through. But one of the other problems that they have oftentimes is, there's a list of, there's 10 really smart things they could do, but they kind of only have the bandwidth to do three. And I know that you spend a lot of time with companies helping them, sort of prioritize and create the right sequence. What are some ways or some frameworks that folks listening can use to think about how do they pick the three that they can do in the next 6 months or 12 months out of the 10 that all seem, like you say, maybe important but not as urgent?
Yeah, the reason you have 10 is because you didn't ask the right question.
Okay.
It's not what's cool stuff that I could do, which is, by the way, a very entrepreneur founder's way of looking at reality, right? That,
Right.
oh, that's cool. Like
Right.
AI, what can I do with AI?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um, you need to know your company. You need to know where your gaps are, and you need to know where your opportunities are. If you, first of all, if you fire yourself and you spend some time on the company,
Yeah.
then you will know what needs to be fixed in your company. Always the same things, by the way. Huh? Everybody thinks they're unique. It's always the same thing. Is or I grow too fast, I cannot deliver anymore, or my growth is stagnant because I don't sell anymore. It's one or the other, and
Sure.
sometimes surprisingly even both. Um, but you don't know any of that because you don't have the right numbers, you don't have the right people to tell you. The only contact you get with your clients is when there is something wrong. So you don't talk to your clients, especially the one that work, you don't talk to them. You're missing so many opportunities with your existing client, upselling, cross-selling, that are the easy, it's the low-hanging fruit. Um, and you have no idea about M&A. You're
Yeah.
terrified of M&A. You think M&A is expensive. You think M&A is complicated. Well, one of them is true, one of them is not. It's cheap, it's super cheap, it's complicated. It's like it needs strategic planning. So it's not about the 10 opportunities you have. You have 50, you have unlimited opportunities. The question is, what are you trying to fix? And that's the A part of my methodology. I know it sounds a bit ridiculous to have a methodology. It's a bit like guru like 12 steps, but it's just like it's a reminder that first you assess your company. Like, what do you have? And then you start planning, like stop running like a headless chicken, and then you execute. So it's common sense, but you lose common sense when you sleep 6 hours per day, work 16 hours per day, and are constantly being harassed by client or staff with problems. You start to see the world as like a giant basket of problems. And because most of them are not your problem, they're not yours to fix. They are your
Right.
people to fix. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I don't know if I answered your question actually.
No, it does. That provides a lot of clarity on, how you create that prioritization is by really understanding that the core, what are the issues with the business instead of getting distracted and chasing some of those shiny objects. But Alexis, you're obviously an expert in a lot of really interesting things, and we could talk all day, but I got to be mindful of your time. But before I let you go, so tell our audience a little bit about how they can engage with you. What's the best way to learn more?
Oh, so first of all, like give you two words of what we did with Night Scale because it's really again common sense. When I noticed this problem, I say, okay, so these guys need good people. Let's get them good people. So what I did, no rocket science, I pick up my phone and call all my friends, the guys who were either working with me or working with my clients. I have a lot of my former clients in there and guys that are either retired or that are in a boring job. And I call them and say, hey, would you like to help small companies and have fun? And they say, yeah, cool. So I have like, now I think I have 14 C-level people. And the way we operate, it's like, it's a bit a Navy SEALs kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So we send a team usually. First, we usually send a CFO or a scout.
Yeah.
So the guy goes, he scouts the company, he will come back and say, okay, this is what needs fixing. So we put the team together. We send the team as a team with a team leader who has the radio and the guys behind. They come, they fix, they leave. That's the idea. The idea is not for us to stay forever. And then I come and I then start talking about exiting the company and growing, and that's my personal specialty. So how to reach me? Super simple. Search my name on LinkedIn. I'm lucky enough that my name is not Paul Smith. So when you have my name right, I'm easy to find and get in touch with me on LinkedIn. I know I'm supposed to have call for action and all that stuff. Marketing is not my stronger suit. I'm getting there. I'm learning, but it's gonna take me a minute.
That's all right. I can help you with all of that stuff.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be cool because right now all I can say is like, guys, just reach to me and we'll have a chat and see if there is a fit.
hey, that's a good place to start with a
Yeah, you
conversation.
can go on my company's website. It's not the best website in the world, but it's out there.
Well, Alexis, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I really enjoyed our conversation.
My pleasure, Mark. Thanks for having me.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thank you for joining this episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast. We hope you've gained insights to grow your business. If you enjoyed this discussion, please rate, comment, like on your favorite platform, and share to others who will find it useful. Do you know a CEO, founder, or leader at an early stage B2B services, tech, or SaaS company who would like to be a guest and share their story? Send us a note. Let's schedule a conversation.